Okay, so hopefully you've had a good go at this practical yourself. Now let's go over how I would go about solving this solution. So first of all, I'm just going to move this to one side and have this on the right side. As you can see, this isn't a very responsive site, so you may think, oh well, we could use some Bootstrap and use the grid system to make it more web responsive. That would be good. Obviously for now we're just practicing the JavaScript, so we won't bother, but if you feel like it, it's always good to do some revision on it. As you can see here, I've got 3 completely blank files. I've got HTML, CSS and JavaScript, so we're going to go over the solution from scratch. So first of all, I'm just going to create my HTML file, and I'm going to link together, first of all, my CSS, which is called Color Changer. And then at the bottom of my body, as always, I'm going to add in my script, which is my JavaScript. Source equals color changer dot JavaScript. Okay, fantastic. So now we have the basic makings of what we need. So it looks like what we need are 2 divs. So these are the 2 boxes, and they're going to have some text in it. So let's create 2 divs. First one I'm going to call blue div. I'm going to put a paragraph in there saying blue. And then the second one, I'm going to call it red div. Put in a paragraph that says red. Easy enough. Okay, let's test this out. So, going to JavaScript practice, color changer. Okay, so that's not really looking as pretty as this one just yet, but don't worry, we'll get there. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to style both of our classes. So the first one, blue div, we're going to use a dot for to say it's a class, and then blue div. And first of all, let's do a height of, let's go for 120px, width of 80px. And then it seems to be a little bit from, no, okay, so it's a little bit away from the top. So let's just do our positioning. You might remember that from our CSS. Position is relative. Then we want to be from the top. Looks about, I don't know, 20px, really not that far at all. Then let's add finally our background color, which is going to be blue. And we can change the type of blue obviously if we want to, but there we go, we have our first one. So now let's go for our red div, which is dot, because it's a class, then red div. And then let's go for a height, let's make it a bit bigger, 150. Let's go for a width of 200 pixels. And then, so we want this to be on the other side. So let's go for a position of relative again. And let's move it from the right side by just 30 pixels. Let's, background color of course, red. Let's just see how that looks at this point. So, okay, so it doesn't seem to be moving. Oh, that's because we want our position to be absolute, not relative. There we go, that's looking a bit better. Okie dokie. And let's see, what else do we want? That should do for now. So now let's move on to the JavaScript. So essentially what we want to be able to do is to access this ID and set and give some kind of function. So let's say we have our class blue div here. I'm going to start the other way around just so you can see that we do it another way. So I'm going to put on mouse over, and then let's call the function. So let's call it background, let's call it background blue, and then with the empty brackets. So now in our JavaScript we need to create this function called backBlue, empty brackets, and then the curly braces, we want to change the background of the whole thing. So for this we just do document, we don't need to do get element by ID because we're just changing the whole body. And then we go for style, and then background color equals, and then we're going to go for, let's go for a different type of blue. So let's go for HTML color picker. Just go into this one here. So we're going for a blue, so let's go for a nice blue, like this one. This looks nice. Let's go for an even lighter version. Let's go for this. And then semicolon at the end. So what we've done is we need to put function at the start as well to say that it's a function. So now we have our function defined. We've put function, the name of our function, and then what it should do. So it should change the body, and that's the style, the background color to this here. Remove that white space. And let's just make sure in the HTML we've got it right. So when we put the mouse over, it calls this function back blue. Okay, fantastic. So there we go. When we put the mouse over, it turns blue. Now actually what might be quite nice is to also have something that when the mouse comes out, it goes back to white. So I'm going to add that as well. So on mouse out, and I'm going to create a function just called clear. So in my JavaScript now, I'm going to create a function called clear. And for this, I'm literally just going to change the background color just back to white. So I think that'd be quite cool. There we go. So now that that's working, let's do the same thing for the red. So now let's add a mouse over event listener. You can delete one of these. So let's add the event listener here, which is the same thing. So we want to have on mouse over. We want to change the background to red. So let's go into JavaScript now, and let's create this other function, which is back red. So we're saying we're creating a function, giving the function name, and then we're adding the curly braces to describe what we want to happen. And we just want the same thing. So document.body.style.background color equals, and then let's go for a color of red. So HTML color picker. Let's go for, yeah, that one looks fine. So let's go for this one here, for example. Looks good. So now when we reset, go with the blue, turns blue, red, turns red. Blue, red, fantastic. So it doesn't look as styled as I've done this one here. So I just picked a few nicer colors, and it's slightly different. However, what we're focusing on here is the functionality. So if you can do this red to blue, then also you could spend more time making the text look better, making the colors a bit nicer, but I value your time, so I'll let you do that in your own time. Now that we've got the functionality down, I think we can stop here. So let's just go over what we've done. So essentially we've created two divs that have separate classes, and then we use the on mouse over event listener so that whenever the mouse goes over this div, we're calling a function. Okay, and this function, for example, here is back blue. So then in our JavaScript, we created our function back blue here. So function back blue. We were just using document.body. So we're saying in this page, change the body, change the style, the background color to this color. And then we just did the exact same thing, but we did it for this div here with a class red div, the event listener that called this function. So hopefully that makes sense. And you can do this in many different ways. You know, you could add 5 different divs around the page that changes the colors each time. And you can even start to make your own games out of this, which could be quite fun. So anyway, I'll leave you to play around with this yourself. And when you're feeling ready, I'll see you in the next lecture.